I'm gonna answer a question I get asked to answer it before, but I've answered it before. Like I said, what is your favorite game, or what do you think is the best fighting game ever? And I've said this before. I'm not actually a really black and white kind of person. I actually don't believe there is a best fighting game ever. I just think some games are better than others. Um, some games are worse than others. Some games are better than others. Also, some games you just kind of, some games kind of, they appeal to you or you identify with the game at the time. It fits your perspective at the time. And so this is the kind of game. It doesn't even have to be a fighting game. Could be any kind of game. Maybe I like this game at the time. It fits my interest. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Sometimes it's just the character. Sometimes you look at a game, I really liked that version of the character. Like that character in that game, he really appealed to me. I like how that character worked in that game. Maybe the game sucked, but that was a cool version of that specific character, right? Maybe some game has a bit of a novelty factor, so that's why you like it. So again, I don't really think that any game is the best game ever. You know what I mean? I've said before, Street Fighter is the most important fighting game, but that does not mean that all Street Fighter games are the best fighting game, but it's the most important game, fighting game wise, right? So, I mean, if I were to give examples, I've said before, I mean, games, so I don't know. Again, I'll say a random thing. People think that I like Karnon's Revenge, right? I've said before, maybe people are like, oh, well, people said you're the best in the world before Karnon's Revenge. I don't think Karnon's Revenge is necessarily, you know, the best game ever. I've said before that it runs a very fine line between being super scrub a dub, you know what I mean, with being kind of deceptively skillful. Obviously, I thought it was awesome that, at one time the Japanese were writing about me on 2chan or whatever, and I was just destroying people, you know what I mean? It's cool to win, but I can see the game's faults, you know what I mean? But that game appealed to me because Mizuguchi is a really awesome character in that game. You can do a lot of really cool technical shit with him, you know what I mean? And I got to show that a lot of stuff that people thought would never be done, I was doing them all the time, you know what I mean? So that was cool. So that appealed to me because I like that thing. People think I like all is. I don't think Guilty Gears are necessarily the best game. I think Guilty Gear, I said the newer Guilty Gears, Guilty Gear became popular because it had a lot of goodwill of Street Fighter, and you could appreciate it's almost kind of a progression of Street Fighter in some ways. But Guilty Gear has also kind of progressed in a certain way to a anime game in a way, in a negative perspective, right? But even say AC, I think I've done all those combos people said were humanly impossible. I was using them as B&Bs, I've still done it when I've randomly played the game. I've done a lot of really cool technical shit with Kai. I don't even, as a video game, as a dude who likes video games, I don't even necessarily morally agree with, if you believe if you believe morals exist in a video game, I don't even morally agree with everything that Kai does necessarily. Not that I think he's an amazing character in that game, competitively speaking per se, but there's some certain moral things that I don't like, potentially don't like, I should say, about his design. But there's also a lot of really fucking cool things he can do. So that would be a character I like in that game. Say people knew me from like Street Fighter Alpha or something. I got that last Evo I went to, I got second. You know what I mean? When I could barely even use my hands anymore, right? World tournament technically, right? I mean, it was right. Got second, could barely even use my hands, dude. Street Fighter Alpha is a very fucking spazzy game. Street Fighter Alpha has a lot of fucking problems, but Street Fighter Alpha, it's got a little bit of a novelty charm to it, right? So I kind of enjoy it. Because I remember playing it as a kid. There's certain aspects of the game that are fun. You know what I mean to me. I don't really think even Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Everyone talks shit about Dragon Ball Fighter Z. I said this before. I think Dragon Ball Fighter Z sucks because it's a fundamentally bullshit game. But it adds a lot of potential new shit to it. So it's a failure because of that. So again, Super Turbo. I think you got to keep the goodwill of fighting games in games. That's why you have to keep the goodwill of Street Fighter in games. You know what I mean? But are all Street Fighters perfect? No, I don't think all Street Fighters are perfect. Do I think Super Turbo is a perfect game? No. You know what I mean? but I still think it's a better game than maybe most other games, right? You know what I mean? So no, I don't think there's any perfect game. A lot of times you play a game that's just like, wow, this game appeals to me because again, maybe the character is really cool in this game. This is a cool version of the character. This game had a cool system, whatever it might be. You know what I mean? Again, I know, just I know that's like not really a popular answer because you know everyone's like clickbait. Oh, this is the best game ever. This is the best game ever. Like I don't care about that bullshit, dude. I don't care about talking shit about video games, right? You know, I'm just like looking at shit objectively, right? So no game's perfect. Some games are better than others. Some games are much more trash than others. You know what I mean? Maybe a game is complete trash. I don't know. Is there a complete trash game? There's probably some games that are pretty close to being complete fucking trash, actually, right? But there's no like perfect game though or anything, right? So I get asked that question a lot, and again, I don't really have a amazing answer to give. That's my answer. The end.